In the spring of 546 BC, King Croesus marched his army across the Halys River. He carried the absolute conviction of the oracle at Delphi, who promised that crossing the river would destroy a great empire. Croesus naturally assumed the empire he would destroy was that of Persia, ruled by Cyrus the Great. But the oracle, as it so often did, had carefully left out the fine print. Croesus was about to discover that his own empire was the one bound for ruin, and the trap that caught him did not rely on superior numbers. Cyrus faced an army twice the size of his own, backed by a legendary force of foreign cavalry. He needed a weapon that could neutralize the most terrifying shock unit of the ancient world without meeting them head-on. Harpagus, a Median general serving Cyrus, noticed something peculiar about the enemy mounts. Horses that had never smelled a camel before panicked at the mere scent of the beast. But recognizing a biological weakness was only the first step in a much larger logistical nightmare. The Persian baggage train was hastily unloaded. The supply camels were stripped of their packs, and infantrymen were ordered to climb onto the humped saddles. Cyrus did not hide his men in the hills or build elaborate trenches in the mud of Anatolia. Instead, he placed his makeshift camel corps at the very front of his marching line, facing the Lydian cavalry. The Lydian horses caught the strange, pungent stench carried on the wind and bolted in terror. They threw their riders onto the stony ground, shattering the Lydian battle formation before a single Persian sword had left its scabbard. Croesus retreated to his heavily fortified citadel at Sardis, confident his towering stone walls would withstand any siege. But Cyrus offered a massive bounty to any soldier who could scale the sheer, unguarded cliff face behind the fortress. A Lydian soldier named Euphrates dropped his helmet down that very cliff, watched it tumble, and scrambled down to retrieve it. He memorized every crack and foothold in the sandstone, but he had no idea the Persians were watching him from the valley below. Cyrus dispatched his commandos up that exact vertical track under the cover of a moonless night. The guards atop the Sardis Acropolis were so stunned to see enemy soldiers materializing from the sheer rock face that they surrendered instantly. Croesus was captured alive, and the Lydian Empire vanished from the map not by brute force, but by a stolen helmet and a line of pack animals. Yet the fall of Sardis was merely the opening act of an even bolder deception that Cyrus would unleash upon the ancient world. The Babylonian Empire sat behind triple walls of brick, boasting a continuous food supply that could last for 20 years. Its king, Nabonidus, watched the advancing Persian hordes from the safety of his luxurious capital along the Euphrates River. Cyrus realized that storming the strongest city in Mesopotamia was an absolute mathematical impossibility. He needed to divert the lifeblood of the city itself without alerting the thousands of guards patrolling the river gates. Upstream from Babylon, Persian engineers began digging massive canals to redirect the waters of the Euphrates away from its natural channel. The work took months of grueling labor under the baking Mesopotamian sun, hidden behind thick palm groves and reed beds. Nabonidus was holding a massive religious festival inside the city, entirely unaware that his moat was slowly drying to a trickle. On the night of the Festival of Opus, in October of 539 BC, the engineering marvel was complete. The river level dropped low enough for Persian soldiers to wade through the muddy riverbed beneath the massive defensive water gates. They slipped into the heart of Babylon in the dead of night, while the garrison was deep in wine and celebration. The city fell with barely a drop of bloodshed, proving that rivers could be turned and empires rewritten with a shovel. But the fall of Babylon was not the end of the Persian expansion, nor was it the most audacious trick in their archives. A generation later, Cyrus's son Cambyses set his sights on the ancient kingdom of Egypt, guarded by the desert. To cross the forbidding Sinai wasteland, Cambyses required a miracle of logistics and psychological warfare. He loaded his supply lines with desert-wise guides and secured thousands of domestic animals to carry water skins across the dunes. The Egyptian pharaoh Psamtik III waited behind the fortified walls of Pelusium, the eastern gateway to the Nile. Cambyses knew that a frontal assault against the Egyptian archers would cost thousands of Persian lives in the searing heat. He looked at the sacred customs of his enemy and found a vulnerability far sharper than any bronze spearhead. The Egyptians worshipped cats, dogs, and sacred ibises with a religious fervor that forbade any harm coming to the creatures. Cambyses ordered his soldiers to gather every stray cat, dog, and sacred animal they could find across the conquered borderlands. He painted images of sacred beasts onto the wooden shields of his frontline infantry and drove the living animals ahead of the marching columns. The Egyptian archers lowered their bows in horror, terrified that a stray arrow might wound a sacred creature and doom their souls. The Persian army marched straight through the gap in the defenses, capturing Pelusium and breaking the spine of Egyptian resistance. A culture that had stood for 3 millennia was shattered in a single afternoon by a wall of living shields. Deception had built an empire from the Aegean Sea to the borders of India, shifting the balance of human history forever. Yet the records of these ancient campaigns left out one chilling detail about how the defeated populations were actually managed.